All information given in this episode is for educational purposes and should not be tried prior to consulting a licensed physician and or certified state or accrediting bodies. We encourage all listeners to research, talk, and make all inquiries to all of the important professionals and governing bodies before acting on any information heard on the De La Fit podcast. Any action taken by any listener is done by and under their own omission and action, whether conscious to the results, positive or not.
To the De La Fit Podcasts, 360 degrees of holistic fitness and health, all in one podcast.
Salutations and proclamations. It is I, it is you, it is us, it is we. Together we make up the digital family that is the De La Fit Podcast. I'm your host, Philly's #1 son, aka the Body Alchemist, Sun Moon Bay, bringing you another podcast excursion. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the 360 degrees of holistic fitness and health. It is Friday, August the 23rd of 2019, and guess what? We are almost completely out of the summertime. When I look at the clock, when I look at the calendar, when I look at everything that's going on, I see the children getting ready for back to school shopping. Actually, I see parents already shopping for their children and getting most of the supplies they need. My nieces have already gotten a lot of their assignments, or I should say what classes they'll be in already. And it seems as though winter had just left and summertime had just got here. And now when you look at it, we're on our way back into the fall. It's been that quick. And I'm thinking about some of the things I've done. I'm still want to do some things since the weather is still warm, and I haven't even done half of the things I want to do. But we're going to still try to get into that. I wonder if any of you have been able to complete some of your summertime activities. How has that all been for you? Have any of you been able to do any of those things out there that you wanted to do? Or have you all just been working? I know I spent a lot of time working. Anyway, we've got a great show for you this week. I have returning guests, registered dietitian, certified diabetes educator, professional speaker, chef, and newly appointed American Association of Diabetes Educators spokesperson, author of the Gluten-Free book, Hassle-Free Cookbook, Gluten-Free Hassle-Free Cookbook, and Easy Gluten-Free. That's right, Miss Marlisa Brown. She is back with us. For those of you who remember, Marlisa came onto the show previously, and she had a conversation in which she was talking about what to be aware of if you have diabetes, or if you think you are having symptoms of diabetes, what to do, how to start looking at the disease, and some things to keep in mind. Well, so many of you liked and gave such positive feedback that we had to bring Marlisa back. In fact, you demanded that we bring Marlisa back. And she's back, and she's going to be speaking about some particular topics. One, insulin resistance, how to know if you are insulin resistant. She's going to be breaking down what is insulin resistance, as well as how to go about living and dealing with this, as well as she will be talking about if you are pregnant, as well as have diabetes, some things to be aware of and some issues to be aware of as well. So we're going to get directly into this discussion. I'm not going to keep you from the information. I'm stumbling and bumbling enough. So let's get into it. The interview with Miss Marlisa Brown. Hey, you with the earbuds in their ear. Have you ever wanted to start your own podcast? When I was trying to get my podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. How do I record an episode? How do I get my show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other places people like to listen? How do I make money from my podcast? The answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now Anchor can match you with great sponsors too, so you can get paid to podcasts. I like to upload my episodes directly to the app and then promote. So if you've always wanted to start a podcast, make money doing it. Go to anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast.
You're now tuned in to the De La Fit podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the 360 Degrees of Holistic Fitness and Health that is the De La Fit podcast. As promised, I have back with us again Miss Marlisa Brown. She's going to be answering our questions. You all wanted her back. You said, son, get her back. She answered so much about diabetes last time. We need her back. We have more questions, and we have her back. Marlisa, how are you today?
Great. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for blessing us with your energy. So, one of the questions we've been asked by our listeners is the fact of insulin resistance. This is something that a few of the listeners were talking about. There's some confusion as to what it is, how it comes about. So let's start with that. What is insulin resistance?
So our bodies make insulin in our liver, and our insulin moves the sugar from the food that we eat into our bodies itself. So we have our blood that flows through our body, and then we have the cells, the hard part of our body that we feel it, So we need to get the sugars that are in our blood into our cells to be able to utilize them, to use them properly. So insulin moves it. So in some individuals, for a variety of reasons, and I'll mention the different reasons, the insulin isn't moving the sugar from the blood as well as it should. And so the sugar's staying in the blood longer and getting higher where it shouldn't be and not getting into our bodies where we need it. So I'll give you a couple of the reasons that this might happen to some individuals. So sometimes due to inactivity, not moving, and being overweight, some of the cells can become insulin resistant. That's one of the exercise makes the cells more sensitive, and lack of exercise sometimes not. Weight, sometimes excessive weight, not in everybody, but in many individuals, can cause the cells to be more resistant. In addition, there are people that have a family history of diabetes, and utilizing their body's different pieces. Let's say you have your liver, you have your pancreas, you have your body cells. There's sometimes genetic things that we've inherited that don't necessarily work as well as we would like them to. And so sometimes we might, in those individuals, for a period of years, be making more insulin than we need whenever we need it. Over and over, we're making too much because it's just surging out more than it should. And what ends up happening in those cases, the excess insulin sometimes makes the cells insulin resistant. So you have variety: overweight, lack of exercise, genetic, inherent thing where you're making too much insulin, your cells become resistant. Sometimes you actually will have a disease that might cause you to become insulin resistant, like polycystic ovarian disease. A lot of women will have this disorder. Usually they start to see this disease come on somewhere around adolescence. They get excessive in weight. They produce too much insulin. They may have acne. They may have more facial hair. They may have problems with their periods not coming every month, and different things like that are some of the symptoms. And those individuals are also naturally insulin resistant from overproduction of insulin, and then insulin resistance. And insulin resistance over time, diabetes, or sometimes people will call diabetes insulin resistance. So there's different ways, depending on who you're talking to, on how they verbalize it.
Okay. So that would lead us to, how do we go about treating or treatment for insulin resistance now that we can identify what it is?
So of course, depending on why you have it would make a difference on what you do. Because exercise can help, make you more insulin sensitive, everybody that, should move their bodies more because, that might help make you more insulin sensitive and then less insulin resistant. Then to some other individuals, that are overweight, in some cases, losing weight, even, a moderate amount. It doesn't mean that, like, let's say you weigh 300 pounds. You don't have to weigh 120 pounds to improve your insulin resistance. Maybe losing just 30 pounds would make a big difference in your insulin resistance. So that's another way. People that have polycystic ovarian disease sometimes need to take a medication in conjunction with, exercising more and such and losing some weight because of the fact that, their body is naturally has that tendency toward, sometimes when a kid goes to the doctor when they're young, they may have just right away inherited this insulin resistance. Maybe their mother had diabetes during pregnancy and her sugars weren't in good control. Mm-hmm. And when the mother's sugars are really high, the baby, while it's still in the mother, starts making insulin. It's not supposed to do that. And so these babies sometimes, especially if the mother had high sugars over a period of time, may be children that start off very young with insulin resistance. So then we have to go into the dietary changes, which I'm sure we're going to talk about a little bit more.
All right. You already segued into one of the questions that we got from one of our listeners. Pregnant, I'm trying to read this correctly. Pregnant, happy, joy@gmail.com. She sent us a message. Okay. And it's, I'm a 35-year-old woman who is pregnant, and I have PCOS. I am also type 2 diabetic. I'm currently dealing with issues of my blood sugar going up and down. My baby doctor thinks it stems from pregnancy, but I think it's my PCOS as well as my diabetes. Also have a dietitian who keeps telling me that there are certain foods that I can eat. She doesn't go into any specifics as the food that's good for my diabetes, but the foods that they are saying I can eat, I cannot have due to my PCOS. I thought dietitians are supposed to know these things. Is it possible they aren't up to date on PCOS? And is this something I should look out for in the future with medical specialists? Thank you, pregnant, happy, joy. So, all right, Marlisa, she left it kind of vague. There's some information that is missing. I just want to state that for pregnant, happy, if you're listening right now. So, Marlisa, I know you're going to try and answer this as best as possible.
Yes, you have multiple questions in there, so I'll try to break it down. So first of all, let me address from the back. I'll go from the bottom backward forward.
Right.
So she said she hopes that nutritionist is supposed to know this. So first off, she wants to make sure that the nutritionist that she's seeing is a registered dietitian, and she wants, because sometimes people call, in some states they don't have licensing, and anybody could call themselves a nutritionist. So you want to make sure it's a licensed nutrition professional or a registered dietitian first. Second, of course, there are some people that have more experience in diabetes, such as certified diabetes educators, so you can get a registered dietitian that's also a certified diabetes educator. And there are people that specialize also in PCOS. But most registered dietitians know enough about PCOS to be able to help her. So the question is on that is, does the patient actually really know what food she should and shouldn't be eating for PCOS? Like, where did she get her information? Is it the patient that is off on what she should and shouldn't be eating, and the dietitian correct? You know what I'm saying? So we don't know when she's saying that there are certain foods I'm not supposed to eat with PCOS. You could eat almost anything with PCOS if you fit it into a meal plan properly.
Okay.
So she may or may not have current information. And some people get information, go search the internet, and some of the sites on the internet are very reputable and have good information, but some of the sites don't. So that's an issue right there. You need to make sure that you check the validity of what you're reading on the internet.
Hey everyone, we hope that you're enjoying the interview thus far. We'd just like to take some quick time out to remind everybody to like, follow, share, and subscribe. With every like, follow, share, and subscription, it helps the De La Fit podcast to grow. And the more we grow, the more information we can bring to you, the listener. So please, take some time out, like, follow, share, and subscribe. Thank you.
or if you're talking to a friend, or did you just read a book? I mean, yeah, I've written a lot of books, but sometimes the people that write the books aren't the experts either. They just got their book published. So these are all things for people, yeah, important, right? I mean,
right.
Oh my God, you think sure that if you read it somewhere, you look it up, you get a book, So we want to clarify those things. Does the dietitian specialize in PCOS and diabetes, or is she, have other patients with that? Is it a licensed nutrition professional and a registered dietitian? Where does the patient get the information? So that's that piece on the side. So put that to the side. Mm-hmm. I'm going to jump to the beginning, and then I'm going to go to the middle. She had mentioned something about the fact that, her doctor thinks the problems that she's having during the pregnancy is because of her pregnancy, and she thinks it's because of her diabetes and her PCOS. Mm-hmm. So this is an important point, because people that have diabetes during pregnancy have to take unusual steps to make sure that they have a healthy pregnancy. It's not just something very simple, cut and dry. So during pregnancy, you make extra hormones. Okay, and insulin is hormone too. And so the production of the hormones and the increase in the blood flow and different things that happen during different trimesters of the pregnancy make your sugars go up. Okay, and individuals that don't even have PCOS and don't even have diabetes and don't even have pre-diabetes, and even if they exercise and they're thin, sometimes get diabetes during the pregnancy. So when they get the diabetes during the pregnancy, they call it gestational diabetes. Now, if you had the diabetes prior to becoming pregnant, then they call you a person with diabetes that is also pregnant. So they use different terms, but generally speaking, both individuals have diabetes during the pregnancy. Trimester, the first 3 months of pregnancy, you have to be really, really tight in those blood sugar numbers, way below what we sometimes would recommend for general diabetic. And that's why sometimes you need a high risk OBGYN in addition to the OBGYN pregnancy doctor, in addition to a registered dietitian that specializes in diabetes, because high numbers in the beginning of the pregnancy can lead to poor outcomes with the pregnancy. So somebody could end up with a problem. They could end up with a miscarriage. They could end up, the baby's developing in that first trimester. So you want to make sure everything that's developing is developing normally, and high sugars can affect that. So the patient absolutely wants to listen to her medical care providers and not information that she might have picked up on her own, because the doctor might be telling her, I want you to check your sugar 4 or 6 times a day. I need your blood sugar in the morning to be below this number. I have to give you medication if you don't hit it. I mean, there might be really tight constraints that the patient isn't aware of. So that's the first piece. As I become more pregnant throughout, my hormones are doing other things, and the baby is doing other things. And so let's say we shot forward to, let's say the last trimester of the pregnancy. We shot forward to the third trimester of the pregnancy, the end of the pregnancy. Most women don't get diagnosed. The women that don't have diabetes before pregnancy, most women don't get diagnosed until about the 28th week.
Okay.
The pregnancy. So the doctors usually do a glucose tolerance test at that time to find out. People that didn't think they were diabetic in the beginning of the pregnancy, that get diagnosed in the beginning of the pregnancy, were probably pre-diabetic or diabetic and just didn't know it before they got pregnant.
Okay.
So the third part of the pregnancy, if the mother's blood sugars are not in this perfect range that I was talking about, can lead to the baby becoming very big, the shoulders developing. Shoulders developing makes it hard to deliver. Usually baby's heads are the biggest thing. First big thing comes out first, You want the biggest thing first. That's usually the case. Very, very important during pregnancy. So additionally, if the mother's sugars are too high, the baby, while it's still in the mother, starts producing its own insulin. It's not supposed to do that.
Okay.
It's supposed to get the blood sugars from the mother. So now the baby's at risk of getting low blood sugar during delivery and having issues after birth of being concerned about low blood sugar even after it's first born, which is a dangerous condition. And the baby could become, an insulin-resistant baby just because it had high levels of insulin before it was supposed to, while it was still in the mother. So you can see there's lots of important things, and I'm just giving you the Reader's Digest version.
Right.
So a regular person, it's not a medical trained person, needs to get those professionals to help her. and she doesn't feel the dietitian that she's working with, registered dietitian, licensed dietitian,
right,
is working with, is familiar enough with her PCOS and her diabetes, listen to that dietitian until you get to go to another one, because a dietitian and an OBGYN or a high-risk specialist OBGYN, which is a baby doctor, are the only people that really can help her.
Marlisa, thank you so much. I know the last time you were on the show, you talked a lot about making sure that, if they don't know, get to the ones that know, because some just don't know. It's just that cut and dry.
I hurt my shoulder, right? I want to go to the best shoulder person to help me with it.
Right.
So if I go to one doctor and I don't feel comfortable, or I don't feel that they're listening to me, or I don't feel that they specialize as much in what my problem is, there are other doctors. You don't have to. There's plenty of people that specialize in different things. Find the person that's the fit for you.
I'm so glad that you said that, because I think a lot of the times when we go to professionals, we feel that we're stuck with that professional. Like we have to stay with them. And that's not the case. That's not the case.
Yeah, of course. And sometimes you stay. Why do you stay? Because you went there 3 times. They have your records. You're already in momentum. They're like giving you shots. You're doing some sort of a treatment. And you stay for a period until you resolve something. And then, or you stay with somebody for a period of time until you find somebody else that you like. But this way you have continuation of your care.
Right.
You don't want to just say, oh, forget it, I'm not going to go back there anymore. And then, 3 months later, you're going to go see somebody.
Marlisa Brown, everyone. Marlisa, thank you so much for coming back to the De La Fit podcast and giving us the benefit of this information. I just want to give you a quick shout out, because one, Marlisa is battling a cold, everybody, and she is a trooper right now. She was like, I'm gonna do it because you said, but right now, son, I'm not, but I'm gonna do it. And I was like, you know what, she's being a real trooper. So thank you so much, Marlisa. We appreciate you greatly.
Well, hopefully it had a nice resonance to my voice with the cold and the speaking. That helped a lot.
You sound fine, and I know the listeners that are listening, they appreciate you. We've just actually have been notified. One of our listeners let me know that they're sharing this to their Better Health group. So more individuals are listening to this, and in groups now, which I'm very proud of. So, and you're the cause of this. They're actually saying that.
And I'm glad that we spoke about what we talked about today, because some women with that have the diabetes during pregnancy or gestational diabetes just don't, take it as seriously as they need to, or get the care they need. And this maybe will help them to know how important it is for them to get to the right professionals.
Most definitely. Marlisa, very quickly, again, where can people reach you if they want to ask you questions, website, contact information?
So on Facebook, I put up a page. It's called Dieting Dietitian. On Instagram, Marlisa Brown, the new number 8. I have a website, T-Wellness, T as in Tom, and then wellness.net. If you put in Marlisa Brown on Google, I get lots of pages that you can click and reach me as well.
Thank you again, Marlisa. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a great one. I'll talk to you again.
You also take care of that cold. Get better quick.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So I'd like to give a big warm thank you to Marlisa for coming back to the De La Fit podcast and helping us to answer these questions. Basically, I should say really answering the questions and explaining more about diabetes, especially this particular topic, specifically dealing with insulin resistance, something that I have heard from many of our listeners and seen in emails. But I know this is not my particular field, so I'm not really familiar with this. And being that we have this platform and we have access to people who know the information, we are going to ask those people and bring them on so that you can ask your questions and get your questions answered. Again, thank you, Marlisa, so much. Not only with the conversation of insulin resistance, but dealing also with having diabetes and being pregnant, something that is to be considered and really well thought out. If you have diabetes and you're considering being pregnant, or if you are pregnant and you have diabetes, or you were just recently diagnosed with diabetes, it's very important to know what it is that one should do so that you can follow the proper protocols and procedures so that you can have a happy, healthy baby and a happy, healthy childbirth. So thank you so much, Marlisa, for all of your information. You know, a lot of times when I do this podcast, I'm always thinking about what I can do to make it better, what I can do to bring you the best. And I think that this is something that a lot of times when you love something, when you like something, when you care about something is very important. I'm going to step away and start another conversation with you all. I was recently talking to a friend of mine, and we were talking about the old thinking of go to school, get a job, make money, have a great life. I'm taking out some of the steps, but it's interesting because I look at a lot of the teens that I mentor, and I look at a lot of the youth that are coming up, and it's unfortunate that this thought pattern is still somewhat being provided, or I should say pushed on the youth. And I think that I don't think it's as abundant as it once was, but I think that it is important that we really take the time to help the youth develop their interests. It is paramount that we help the youth develop their interests, because we're such a money-oriented society, but I don't think success really comes just from money. I see too many people that are involved in things and have no real love for it, no real like for it, and it's due to the fact that they only chased money. That can affect our health. That can affect your health greatly. When I talk about the 360 degrees of holistic fitness and health, I always mention finance as well, because finance is what allows us to do what we need to do. It allows us to take trips. It allows us to buy food. It allows us to keep a shelter. It allows us to do many, many things. But if you have the improper view of finance, then like anything, it can be detrimental. The love of money, I don't think it's healthy. The understanding of the use that money can have is more beneficial. And I think we live in a more money hungry society than we need to. I think that a lot of our youth are starting to see that. I hope they are. But, you know, I think about the visuals that they're fed. I think about the music videos. I think about the music. I even think about myself from a younger perspective, and why my parents were so vehement about paying attention, pardon me, to what I listened to what I ingested mentally. It's so important. It is very important. And I say this to go into another topic, which is the fact of children are watching. We cannot continue to live the do as I say, not as I do mentality, because that doesn't work. I don't think that ever has truly worked. I think it is such a dysfunctional point of view, because our children are constantly watching. And when we're telling them one thing and they're seeing our actions to be something else, we are lying to our children. We are lying to our youth. And that is building and creating dysfunction and dissension in our youth. You know, it might seem like it starts out harmless, but remember, our youth are like a pure white page. They're virgins in every sense of the word. And when you start to apply any type of pigment to that page, it stays there because there's nothing else there. You understand what I'm saying? I hope all of you understand what I'm saying. Meaning that mistake or non-mistake, pro or con, well-intentioned or not, if you're not paying attention to what you're enacting, to what you're acting out in front of the youth, then what takes place is that you can stain a child for the rest of their life. And that's something to take seriously. I don't think we take that as seriously as we need to. If we really did, we wouldn't just do some of the things that we do. We wouldn't display some of the actions we display. We would be more careful what we put out on television. The children are our future. I know it sounds so stereotypical, and I know that we've heard this before. We've even made jokes about it, but the truth of it is the children are our future. There are no bad children. There's just poor role models. I remember when I was younger, and this can date me, but I'll never forget when Charles Barkley made the statement, "I should not be a role model." I've always thought that was the biggest cop-out that I've ever heard in my life, and I was a young man when I heard this. The simple reason is Charles Barkley had a role model. I'm sure there were people that he looked up to outside of his home, outside of his family. And it's natural to do this. And I've spoke on this topic before. But recent circumstances have made me look at just how much we affect our youth. So I'm not going to take a long time. I'm not going to do a filibuster like I normally do. I'm not going to rant and rave. I'm just going to say to all of our listeners out there, please try to be mindful. That's right. Keyword mindful of your actions, because you never know who's looking. That goes for me first, out to all of you. As always, thank you so much for tuning in to the De La Fit podcast. I appreciate and love all of my digital family out there. You are always welcome. And we are all a part of the village, and it is our duty for each one to teach one. They say it takes a village to raise a child. We are all somebody's child. That means that we should all take that duty of each one teach one seriously. Please love yourself as best and as positively and as truthfully as you can. I know if you do that, you will always love others the same way. Peace.
You've been listening to the De La Fit podcast. Ta-ta for now.